Hello, everyone, and welcome to another horrific review. Chris and I are back as we discuss Critters, directed by Stephen Herek. A group of small but vicious alien creatures called Krites escape from an alien prison transport vessel and land near a small farm town near Earth, pursued by two shape-shifting bounty hunters. I nearly read that right. This movie was made at a budget of $3 million and brought in $13.2 million at the box office. We finally made it. We're here. We're doing it. We're talking about the movie.
This movie tried to get away from us, but we caught it.
They tried to escape, but we bounty hunted it down.
That's right.
Now we're here. Oh. This is a classic.
I had never seen this before. Somehow this escaped me in the 80s and 90s and all the way to today. So yeah, it was interesting. It was it made 4 times its budget. You know, how many movies could say they did that? So you could see why.
Not today.
No. So you could see why they wanted to make sequels of it. It's cheesy fun. You could definitely see the influences of the time, Ghostbusters and Gremlins, and even like Star Wars. There's an E.T. There's a lot of influences, into this movie. I don't know if it's as successful as any of those, but I had fun with it. I enjoyed it.
It's the classic VHS rental movie.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's the horror section. That's the poster that was up. That's the movie that draws you in, and yeah, it's one that always gets a rewatch. It's the same vein as Killer Clowns.
Yeah, but it's weird to call it a horror movie because there was only 2 humans that died in this movie.
Yeah, but everyone got messed up. Like even the ones that didn't die are getting munched.
Yeah, I mean it's not a very
it's comedy horror.
It's definitely comedy horror. Yeah. But I feel like Gremlins had a more more tension in it. Like there was more fear or whatever. Like this, it was just very, very campy. And maybe it's because I didn't see it as a kid the way most people did, probably.
Yeah, that's the problem. You don't watch these movies as adults. Wise up.
Yeah. So I'm trying
it was a weird zeitgeist of these were adult movies, but the whole fan base for kids.
Yeah.
That was the 80s, man. It was beautiful. You'll never get another decade like it.
Yeah, but I mean, it had the fear element of a porcupine. That's really what it is. It's not. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would have been scary even for a kid watching it, but
it was hilarious.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it definitely had the comedic part of it. Yeah,
especially the hair.
Yeah,
80s hair. Oh my god, that's There's a reason why all them hairsprays are banned today. That's not natural.
Yeah, for sure.
But rather than, as you mentioned, there's loads of sequels, but we never had to do the in space sequel because we start out in space, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, right. Usually it's like the 4th or 5th movie, before these go into space, like Leprechaun and things like that. So yeah, they started right away in space. Although most of the movie does take place on Earth. So you could have a sequel, and maybe they did. I don't know, where it takes place more in space. Yeah. Oh, it does? Okay, there you go. So that'll be fun.
Great. The 4th one's Critters in space.
Critters in space. Yeah.
Yep. We'll have a goofy plot. Like the Krites are on a prisoner transport, being taken to a prison to get executed. And these things are that dangerous that, instead of just doing them on the spot, to go through this whole ritual.
Yeah, the whole premise of them being on trial, like these creatures, have the intelligence of a small animal. Like,
no, they're intelligent.
It doesn't seem like it.
The pilot, they stole the ship. The pilot did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, like the creatures seem like they just have to feed. It's like a natural instinct, and it seems like they're on trial for eating people. It does, like you wouldn't put like a rabid dog on trial.
Well, didn't Jeffrey Dahmer go on trial?
Yeah.
You know, there's there's a thing called farming. You know, domesticated livestock. I'm sure they'll have that in space too, because the rest of the galaxy seems to get on all right. But Krites just seem to like wanton rampage and murder, because why not?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like they have much control. It's very animalistic. I feel like you either put them down or you lock them up. I don't know what the trial is for.
See when I miss breakfast? Like, watch out. Seriously. I can sympathize. Like,
yeah. I think there could be a whole movie about the trial that would have been hysterical. I just don't know what the Krites would have done. They're like, Krites got to do what Krites got to do.
But classic government bureaucracy, what do they do? The subcontractor the main function to private firm. So
yeah,
of course it's going to go tits up. Lowest bidder, minimum budget. Yeah. What's going to go wrong?
Yeah, I guess those warp drives or whatever are expensive, and they ran out of funds. Yeah, definitely seems like they should have had better security instead of farming it out to bounty hunters. But it makes for a fun premise. And I think the bounty hunters were one of the more.
No, just talking about the initial security guards.
Oh yeah.
They were subcontracted like G4 security or something. Freaking cops.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely need to use their space budget a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bounty hunters themselves, though, were one of the more successful parts of the movie. I think that was, for the technology at the time, like that was a very fun way to do it, where they were very generic and they had to like watch, videos on humanity and pattern themselves after MTV rock stars. I just thought that whole thing was fun.
The thing is, the actor that plays us could have been in an album. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah,
like that was classic.
Yeah. I think I googled it. I was like, "Is this a
guy?"
Yeah,
we all did it. We're all wondering when his album was coming out. Seriously, we're all doing it at the time. If they had it done like Dawkins did with Dream Warriors or something, they'd be minted.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But this is one of those cult classics. It's not for the mainstream. It's just one of them. Yeah, it's for the horror nerds in the horror section.
I could see that. I definitely I feel like it could have leaned one way more. I feel like it tried to toe the line between the comedy and the horror, and it really didn't get either quite right. Like if it was made to be more of a comedy, I think they could have been funnier. And if it was made to be more of a horror, it certainly should have had more horror to it. Mm-hmm. So I think they tried to play it right down the middle. This was the director's first directorial debut. So, can't really blame him. And I think he was going for like a Gremlins feel, but it didn't really have the heart or the comedy or the horror, horror elements that Gremlins did. Yeah, so for me, it wasn't quite successful in landing in those areas. But I'll tell you what, I liked elements of it. I like the bounty hunters. I like the family, and I like Charlie. I think Charlie was a great character.
That is a trope of the 80s, and I don't know what it is. It's this simple adult that hangs out with the kids.
Yeah, right. We saw that in Leprechaun, the first one,
and Big Ernest and all them. I mean, there's loads of them, Pee-wee Herman and all that. It's like a simple adult who befriends kids, and
you don't see that anymore.
Yeah, well, obviously because the world went a bit twisted.
Yeah. They just assume that everyone has bad intentions, and they need to keep those types of people away from kids, right?
Yeah,
that's like the modern way of thinking.
Yeah, but it's just interesting that that was just seen as normal and was, all right in society and stuff. And
yeah,
like not just horror movies, but like movies in general. You always have this like simple adult. And that was it.
I never thought about that, but you're right. They're in a ton of 80s movies. Yeah.
But we also have the mythical household where everyone has this fully cooked breakfast laid down and everyone just takes 2 bites and that's it. Every like Poltergeist, you name it, always the full cook breakfast and gotta go munch, and it's just normal.
Yeah, you'd think after a while, the mom or the dad or whoever's cooking breakfast would be like, it takes me 35 minutes to 45 minutes to cook this breakfast. And they take 2 bites and they do this every freaking day. Eventually, you'd be like, it's just not worth it,
You just put the 2 bits of bacon down and...
Yeah, there you go. Here's some toast. Have a great day.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very much of the 80s, which is actually very nostalgic and enjoyable. Even not having seen it as a kid, I still felt the nostalgia between the hair, between the breakfast, the family. There was a lot of fun nostalgia in this.
Yeah, I'm going to be biased because, like I said, this is one of my go-tos.
You like this one as a kid?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Nice.
This is one. When we went to youth club and school had like an after-school youth club, and you're allowed to watch videos. This is when you sneaked in. God, we watched some shit. Like the youth leaders and the teachers didn't give a toss.
Yeah.
God, but we rented them and all, and nobody batted an eyelid. It was great. I
was gonna say, like people are so afraid to keep, scary movies away from kids because they're gonna have nightmares or stuff like that. Like, you turned out fine. Like, people turned out fine. Yeah,
no problems here.
Well, maybe not the best example, but other people turned out fine.
Yeah. Nah, it's just funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I said, the way everything changed, it just harkens back to, like, I say a better time because, yeah, there was the chance of nuclear war, Holocaust, there's all sorts of stuff going on. But I think we're happier. Because everyone now is just...
Yeah, there was definitely more of a sense of community in the 80s. And you see it represented in this movie, people gathering at the pool hall, at the church. They care about each other. They're concerned about each other. You saw that with the whole Tremors franchise. You see it throughout, 80s movies. And it was also representative of the culture. Like, there was more of a communal aspect. Now everyone stays home. Everyone's in their house. No one goes out. No one goes to the movies together. No one plays pool together. No, it's very, very rare that you have these social gatherings, and it's definitely impacted society in a horrible way. And I think it's going to reflect worse in future generations, because I think this is a somewhat recent phenomenon, like the last 5-10 years. Certainly, the pandemic made it worse, but it was heading
already on that trajectory anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Accelerated.
But I think, like, you're going to see the effects of that, the impact of that, in the future generations, even worse.
Well, that's why. Sorry.
No, just the isolationism of it. Scary.
I think that's why Stranger Things blew up, because it resonated with people yearning for something.
Yes.
People around the D&D table.
Yeah.
And then that sense of just hanging out together and stuff, and yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I think Generation Alpha have a chance to just turn things around. I think they've looked at the millennials, for example, and just went, nah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Gen Zers, but I think Gen Alpha has a chance to, sort of look, and like I said, they're the ones seeing all this.
What are the Gen Alpha? What is that? What's the designation for? Like, when does that start?
After Gen Z, so it's at the last 10 years or so?
Okay.
10, 15 years.
Yeah. I hope so. I have a
sort
son.
Of the teenagers now,
Yeah. I have a son who just turned 12, so I certainly hope so. Yeah.
I think he's in that bracket.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And I think they've seen, that's why, like I said, Stranger Things blew up. Is more the idea. They're seeing a bunch of friends hanging around the table and doing stuff, and not just, there's no phones, and movies like this, I think, sort of bring that to the fore, that yeah, technology is great. We can do stuff like this, but
yeah,
it's, you got to have it in regulation. You got to have the balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then we've got Sally, who's like just flip's sake, put that show to shame with all her theories and stuff.
She was great. She was, yeah, she could definitely be one of us. We got to send her a tinfoil hat and have her be part of the club. Get her some Kool-Aid. But it's just funny. Like she's, I guess, like the secretary at the police precinct, and she's just like sitting there with hair curlers on and reading magazines, and like it was just a funny juxtaposition of a typical police station, you know, that you would expect to see. But I liked her character. I thought she added a much needed comedic element to this. Because like I said, for a movie that's supposed to be more funny than scary, I thought it needed one or two more comedic elements, but she was fine. Yeah, she helped in that regard.
It gets into this groove. Like I said, it was his first outing, but there ended up being 4 movies, so 2's great. There's this particular scene in 2 you'll just love. But
all right.
We'll get to that. Charlie, like we talked about him, he's just the simple adult, and he's an alcoholic. Yeah, he has his cell booked. Like that's his cell, nobody else's. In the local jailhouse.
Yeah, but I like that he's like a valued member of the community. Like the family knows him, and he hangs out with the son, and he works out at the dad's shop. And even when he has one of his drunken outings, like they have like a very comfortable jail cell for him.
That's what I mean. It's all like he does well have a bookcase and a couple of his favorite magazines and stuff, and just let him live there.
Yeah, there was bedding in it. There was it looked like a little gerbil cage above the sink. Like he definitely was there quite frequently, and that was like his room. So that was a fun aspect. I enjoyed his character.
There was that aspect of well, he's not going to do anything. He may, he's part of us. What do? You ostracize him, or do you just try and get him to be somewhat functioning, and that's it.
Yeah.
But then we'll have the whole bit. He's hanging out with Charlie. The whole what do you call him? Catapult.
Oh, a slingshot.
Yeah.
Is it slingshot or
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Catapult.
It may be cool. Like, yeah. You guys call torches flashlights, so you can tell me anything and I'll believe you. But there's definitely something very familiar about our good friend Charlie. And I know it's early, but darn it, it got me thinking something very familiar about this guy, Charlie.
Already? For flip's sake, we're starting off with a bang. I suppose we'll make it to it then. Let's do it. It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory. Chris.
Chris's crazy theory.
It's disappeared. Oh God, it's disappeared. The other things disappeared. I don't know what's happened there.
We're good?
We are good, yeah.
So it's hard to discuss Charlie without pointing out some very interesting similarities that I noticed. Very familiar character. So when we first see Charlie...
Well, it's that trope, like we just mentioned, being used in like every 80s movie. Practically.
Yes.
There's a Charlie everywhere.
Who gets... Yeah, exactly. But there was something particularly... That's not how English works. Very familiar about this particular character, Charlie. So when we first see him in slide number 1, we have he's in the jail cell, and this is what I was talking about before.
Yeah, like the most comfortable jail cell in the planet.
So you get the impression that he's very familiar to this jail cell, and then you find out that he's a drunk, and you think, oh, maybe that's what's causing his behavior. But there's more to it. There's much more to it than just simple drunken behavior. Yes. Oh, yes. That's my big argument. That's my speech debate trading. Oh, yes. No, I have
yes,
proof.
that is.
So he says, yeah, I'm getting them through my fillings, just like last time. He's getting these, these thoughts, these theories, perhaps. And, obviously the sheriff is not believing him. But he goes on to explain a little bit more of his backstory, which I enjoyed. So he says they're the same ones, the same feelings that he got that ruined his pitching career. So you're like, oh, okay, he's just telling tales out of school, as no one says anymore. But no, there's more to it. He says he was a prospect. He was a pitching prospect in the sport of baseball. I wasn't drinking then, was I? So now you're starting to think, well, wait a sec. He has a point. If he was a good pitching prospect, and then he illuminates further, he had heat, meaning he could throw hard. And then he started getting these messages, and that's what caused him to start drinking and be crazy, not the other way around. It's not the drinking that came first. And that's an important distinction, I think, because like I said, Charlie was very familiar. Who else started to have theories out of nowhere? This guy. This guy. And it all started with Chris's crazy theory, the killer clown suit. I used to be normal also. I wasn't a baseball prospect, unless 60 miles per hour is good, and it turns out it's not. But I did all of a sudden start getting some crazy theories, much like Charlie does, and the similarities go further. I don't know why I'm wagging my finger at you, but the similarities go further. It's very aggressive today. I apologize. The sheriff says to him, "You just forget about that Martian stuff, okay? Where else have we heard Martian theories? This guy with my graboids in space Martian theory." So the similarities go even further. He starts doing research, right? Okay, 1948, a Missouri housewife is kidnapped by 6 little men with orange heads on her way to the laundromat. He's doing all this research. What else has 2 thumbs and does a lot of research? This guy. This guy does a lot of research too. So Charlie and I have a lot in common. And it goes further. He says, you just go get a tin can. Hello? Tin can. Tin helmet. It goes further. He says, call the Army. They're here. I had a theory about the Army, the Shrieker Team 6. So look. Later on, he says, Brad, I got an idea. Come here. This was not to jump ahead, spoiler-wise, but later on in the movie, when things are at their most bleak, his great theory, his plan to save the day involves lighting something on fire and throwing it. Where else have we seen someone think of a desperate plan to light something on fire? My character in the horrific games, Call of Cthulhu, The Lightless Beacon, my character, Stan Biblio, did exactly that. He lit something on fire. So you put all the evidence together, all the theories, all the behaviors, and you could only come to one conclusion, and that is Charlie McFadden is my biological father.
That has to be one of the most random theories ever.
Papa, come home. You were right, Charlie. So was I. So was I.
There you go, folks. It's a theory. It's a Chris. It's a theory.
Chris's crazy theory.
As you get assumed by your family. Oh. There's Phil on, yay!
Hey, Phil, what's up, buddy? Thanks, pal.
Son of Charlie. Yeah, he's definitely an interesting, but I think it's not so much about Charlie, it's about the character of the town.
Yeah.
like you mentioned with Tremors, that's what kind of makes the thing. It's not just you can have any sort of monster, but it's the vibe of the place that you need.
Yeah, it's the community aspect of it, and especially the family itself. Like you actually like care. You have to care about the character's survival for any kind of horror related movie to be successful, even a silly one. If you're rooting against them, I mean, it could work. There's been movies like that have done that. There's some of the Final Destinations. All of the characters were kind of like despicable in some way or annoying but for the most part, I personally prefer when you're rooting for the family to survive, and this is definitely one of those.
Even on a slasher, you want to feel sort of the tragedy when something happens.
Yeah,
it's I know it can be funny sometimes. Go, haha, right, got you, and watch them go plink. But I think there's something about having that element of buy-in.
Yeah.
Like Brad, for example, he's the young bratty brother. But even early on, like I said, with the slingshot, he takes a rap for Charlie. And, we see like heroic qualities.
Yeah, he was a real hero in this. And I really like that actor as an adult, Scott Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the TV show that I very much enjoy called The Orville, which started out as like
I still have to watch that. I never got around to it.
Yeah, and if you do try it, you have to watch it past the first few episodes because it started out as a spoof on Star Trek. It's made by Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah. No, I'm familiar with it. I've never watched it.
So
it started. One that I've been meaning to. I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, because it was weird. It started out the first few episodes trying to figure out what it was, and it was more of like a spoof on Star Trek, and then somehow it found its groove like halfway through the first season, where it actually became more of like a really good sci-fi show with a little bit of comedy as opposed to like comedy with a little bit of sci-fi. Mm-hmm. So it got better and better. And Scott Grimes is great in it. And there's a story arc. It might've been in the second season that was really powerful. I won't ruin it for anyone, but anyway, huge fan of the actor. And even as a boy, I thought he was phenomenal in this. His actions are believable. Usually kid actors they're over the top, or they're just wooden planks. And I thought he played it perfectly.
Yeah, that's I think it's a Disney thing that ruined kid actors, because if you think about the wee girl plays Carol Ann and all that kind of stuff, Poltergeist and loads of movies there's great Haley Joel Osment, there's loads of great child actors that did well, but it's the whole Disney, and I'm talking about back Disney Channel days, that just churned out these horrible things that never, they got worse when they became adults.
Yeah.
And that's what just ruined it, where I think child actors, there was a sort of care taken about them because they knew that they had to get the best performance. They knew they were dealing with limitations. And you got characters like Brad, and I would say back in the day, he was more the norm. Like, it was only that I'm talking not even 90s, early 2000s, like Disney Channel time is when it all went to ratchet with child actors.
You might be right. Maybe I'm lumping him in with 90s movies, but I just recall
it's hard when you've watched decades and stuff, and all you see now is the rot.
Yeah,
that's one thing I love about doing what we do here, is by going back and forward, various movies throughout, you can sort of pinpoint bits in time and you can see changes, some for the better, some for the worse.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But it seems like there's a lot of child actors that tend to just go one extreme or the other. And I thought he played it down the middle perfectly, where he's heroic, but also scared, as you should be in this situation. He's, helps his family, but is not, like over the top with the acting and everything like that. So yeah, I enjoyed his performance.
There's nothing worse than now they do, like the girl boss who's flipping built like a twig and throws around accommodating stuntmen. and the kids that do it and stuff, and it just completely leaves you out of you can't suspend disbelief because there's nothing to believe. It's just reality's left behind. You need that bit of he's doing what a brave kid would do. And he's not going overboard, and he grew up at a farm, so yes, he can handle a shotgun, but he's still nervous about it and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Where if that was done today, it'd be like toting one under each arm and somersaulting and doing weird shit, And
yeah. Well, if it was done today, the sister would be the hero, and he would be, botching things up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that nonsense is coming in the end now. People realize that folks don't like that.
Well, even just you get tired of the same. It's just repetitive.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do the Hunger Games, you want to do a couple of movies where the girl's the hero. It's totally fine. But when it becomes every movie, and the guys are always inept, it just
becomes an obnoxious way it's done.
Yeah, well, that too. But it's also just the repetitiveness. It becomes like white noise, where it's like, all right, I'll wait until there's a different type of hero for once, or we go back.
The sister in this as well is heroic in her own way. The mother's heroic. Everyone, the father gets disabled basically early on.
Yeah.
So all those sort of things that they say didn't happen before 2016 is happening in this movie.
Yeah. The sister does kind of abandon the boyfriend in the barn pretty quick.
Yeah, well, let's be honest. Let's talk about Steve. Like, let's be honest. Not the sharpest tool in the box, is he?
No. Played by what's his name? Billy Zane, right? A very young Billy Zane. Yeah, he was an interesting character. He was it looks like he was trying to come off as like the jerk boyfriend that you don't really mind that he gets eaten. But then again, he was also like really nice to the family, very polite. So it was a very interesting, I don't know what take they were trying to go with for him.
Yeah. And the fact that she was trying to jump his bones, like, and he was just trying to be nice and have a pleasant evening.
Yeah.
Like, she was a bit of a predator, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't get a feel for his character, because then other times he was kind of like, kind of a jerk to her. And then around the family, he was super nice. And it was like, I don't know.
Because all he had really done was drive up at this point.
It was
in a city car,
Yeah.
His city car, like driving up the farm, and that was it. And
yeah,
sure enough, when she dragged him out, like he's trying to teach her to drive and stuff, and that, so it wasn't really anything. He was harmless.
He was harmless. Yeah, there was one or two lines that it came off a little obnoxious, I thought, but then he was so nice to the parents and everything, and this is the best meal ever, and he was really, doing a nice boyfriend job, So yeah, definitely an interesting take on the character.
I'll catch up.
Hey guys. Oh, chat's picking up.
Yep.
Hi all.
So long since watched Critters. Yeah, it's Chris didn't understand. He didn't have the childhood experience. He was denied.
That's true.
He just doesn't understand the glory of this movie. Just, you need it in your prepubescent years.
Yeah.
It's just one of them naughty movies, or just fun. I don't know. I just thought it was Gremlins with a bit of an edge to it.
Yeah, I have the intellect of a 7-year-old, if that helps. But I didn't, it is tough, to get that nostalgia back. I have a buddy of mine who, believe it or not, hadn't seen Star Wars as a kid, the original. And he watched it at the age of like 40 and just didn't get it at all, And I was like, well, yeah, sure, because you're watching something from 1977, now. Like it's not the same. But I really did try to put myself in that 80s frame, and like I said, the nostalgia of the movie, really, I appreciated all that. I just thought, Gremlins and a few others did it better, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, let's be honest, Gremlins is a completely different bag. Completely different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
God, Gremlins 3, I think, is coming out next year.
Oh, really? They're doing that?
They're doing it.
All right.
Well, there's nothing else left. They're having to go over everything. I don't know. I wasn't too sure about the Naked Gun reboot, but when they did the OJ Simpson gag,
Yeah, that actually looks funny.
it's like, oh right, you're going there. Okay, this could be good.
Yeah, that
Don't have you
actually.
clicked on that one?
Yeah.
It's like, oh right, okay, we're going to do that then. Okay.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're having to because they've screwed up everything else. That's what I mean. Movies, I guess, just existed and didn't try to do anything. There's hundreds like them. I mean, the horror section in the video rental store was full of movies, I guess. Just happened this one landed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. You wonder how many others, were made similar quality or maybe even better that just for whatever reason didn't land with people. That it'd be fun to try to find like 80s horror movies like this that kind of like fell through the cracks, that are mostly uncovered.
Actually, funny enough, Lee and I were talking about in Sunday that so much has been lost because there's no proper archiving of movies because studios are idiots. And also the fact that they're not saving movies properly so they can be re-released. Like, there's money on the table. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting the point they're actually having to reboot the things one of them do. But the problem is because of the idiots in the studios, they're going to screw everything up. You need mass layoffs, and just new people brought in, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, I like the fact that they gave the Krites a language, and didn't just have them like,
It was a mix of like Spanish and French. I was reading the director came up with that, and it was a fun element. If they spoke English, it would have just been weird.
No, don't want that.
Yeah.
But the fact that they spoke and they communicated and they can pilot ships, and didn't mess about.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, you'd want a snack too if you'd crossed like the entire galaxy.
That's true. I just didn't see why they should be on trial, but you're right. They were able to pilot ships and if they have their own language, that has to be a sign of a higher intelligence. But it seems like they really just need to feed. It's like it's not that they were intentionally evil. I don't see them as evil. I think they're just like an animalistic,
I think it's maybe the way they went about it. It's like I said, it's like a cannibal tribe.
Yeah, they didn't like torture anyone. It's not like they were trying to like scare people. Like they just ate them. That's all.
Oh dear.
It's not like the leprechaun. Like the leprechaun was trying to scare people, before he killed them. You know what I mean? Maybe that's a bad example, but there's other horror creatures that would intentionally scare the creature before, the victim before killing them. These were just trying to feed.
Victor Crowley, like the mess with people. Obviously, Freddy Krueger.
There you go.
I don't know which ones I got.
Yeah.
But the biggest tragedy of this has to be Jim trying to get off with Sally. And it just seems like this is something he's been trying for years. And you're just like, mate, just move to another town. Dude, just give up.
Yeah. Jim is the sheriff, right?
Yep. No, he's not the sheriff. He's one of the deputies.
Oh, okay.
No one is trying to chat up Sally over the radio and ask her out and stuff.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And then he wanted to go beat a dog, so they have no sympathy for him once he did that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it's a small town. There's probably not a lot of options for Jim. And, co-workers. That's a big thing, you know. So he's around her all the time. But yeah, Jim was one of only 2 victims, I think, in the whole movie too. Right? I think it's Jim and
And Steve.
and Steve. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everyone else, I think, survived.
Yeah. But it was more of the sort of, you know, I think that's the difference though. Rather than being just a straight up slasher where just everyone could the bodies pile up.
Yeah.
They kept the tension going, you know, and
Yeah.
let's be honest, Jay, like he may as well. He was close to death as anybody.
He was pretty close, yeah. Yeah. And
When
I
he
don't know
went
if
to check out the basement. That was it.
yeah, I don't know if this family is in the second one or not, but you could make a case that he may not have survived after. I mean, that's
No, they
a
are
lot
the
of
second one.
oh, they are in the second one? All right, so he does survive. Okay. I was gonna say there's a lot of space bacteria in that bite.
And the
So,
darts. Like that was a new element they brought in. Like you
Yeah.
never see that usually in the sort of movies. It's like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was
poison darts.
cool. The poison quills or whatever. Yeah.
You knew there was a lot of ideas. That's the thing. There's a lot of ideas sort of happening here, and they're playing with it, and they're just not. I don't think a director wanted to make it just standard monster movie. He was trying to make something with a bit more depth to it.
Yeah, and I think the creature design was smart because this seemed like an animal that could exist in nature. I think sometimes when they come up with these space aliens, they just doesn't even seem like realistic. Like how would evolution have led to that path? But I feel like with these, like yeah, we see porcupines, we see creatures that are somewhat similar, so everything seemed believable, and yeah, I thought they did a good job with the design.
Yeah, the bit where they went out completely wacky is obviously with the bounty hunters.
Yeah.
But it was it was funny, you know. The fact is they're known as loose cannons in every mission they've been on, yet somehow they still keep getting work. Because that's a bit like government contractors today. You sort of look at a lot of these companies, go, how do you still get a contract again, you mumpets? And there's like 3 main like contractor companies, you know, for like services and stuff, and they keep swapping around, you know.
Yeah. I mean, they got the job done. You know, they destroyed the creatures, right? They were going to be, you know, put to death anyway. So they were successful, and I don't think the head office really cares about some collateral damage on a planet far away like Earth. So I'd say success.
Yeah. And of course, the cardinal rule of horror movies was broken because April was the one wanting to jump Steve's bones. She's the one that should have got munched.
Yeah, that's true.
Steve is actually, I'll die on this hill. Steve's innocent, and he didn't deserve it. If one character in this entire movie didn't deserve to get eaten, it was Steve. Yes, he was a harebrain. Yeah, he's a yuppie, you know, mommy and daddy's boy that's not really done anything, but he you know, he reminds me of Fred out of Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
he's a bit like that.
I could see that.
And yeah, he didn't deserve that at all.
But there have been 80s horror movies where the rich person is a victim. Like they almost get punished for having things, and he had the nice car. So it kind of played to that trope a little bit. But you're right. The sister's the one that started the you know, the romp in the hay. So yeah, it should have been her. That's a good point.
Yeah, didn't get the
I think they wanted to keep the family together.
Yeah, no, I get what they're doing. Obviously, it's the family unit. They're sort of taking notes from Poltergeist.
Yeah. I thought the dad was gonna buy it.
Yeah, well, he came close. I mean, that was like to me that was the horror aspect of Jay. You know, in the basement, he got just absolutely messed up, and then the family relies on him. You know, he's the sort of pillar of strength, and then when he goes down, it sort of leaves the rest of the family to step up.
Yeah, I love that whole scene too with the dad in the basement, because he could have been like, help, I got this angry raccoon on me. And instead, the first thing he thinks of as he's getting bitten, he's like, stay upstairs, stay away. He's like protecting his family even as he's getting eaten. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I believe father figures are legal now. Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, but
I mean,
that's good, wholesome family. Just showing the family unit, staying together, and that's the hard times that make you as a family, not the friendships, families. That's it's always tested with the hard times. It's easy to do stuff when things are going well.
Yeah, yeah. But I like the way this family was. Like they had fights with each other, which is very realistic. But in hard times, they really, banded together. The sister and the brother, like they all cared about each other. So I thought that was a very successful part of the movie. Yeah, Flea's right. Today it's mother figure or nothing. Yeah.
But mother plays a role in this as well. Like, my favorite scene out of this whole movie has to be like when they're coming up to the porch and they speak. It's like, they have weapons. So what? Fuck.
That is classic. That's right up there with like Tremors. You picked the wrong goddamn rec room.
Yeah.
That's up there with classic horror movie lines. That would be a fun thing to try to come up with the best lines in horror movie, like the top 10 lines. That'd be a fun video to do.
I don't know if I want to go down that rabbit hole of like top 10, because that's going to take ages of research and editing and stuff. And
top 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this has got to be up there. That was a great line. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, we'll have the bounty hunters. They land on Earth. They decide they're going to start hunting for the Krites, and just their MO is just to go and shoot everything up and demand, as if people are going to hide the murder teddies.
You're right.
And like harbor them.
Yeah. But you know what? It got me thinking, maybe on some of the other planets where they've tracked down these types of creatures, maybe there are more sympathetic aliens that would harbor them, and just the humans just don't know about them yet.
And the thing is, we don't know what the Krites' crimes actually were. Like, they stopped on Earth for a snack, but we don't actually know what they were being imprisoned or executed for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these could be intergalactic terrorists, and like staging coups and toppling governments and, all sorts of gnarly stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just happen to be hungry, because obviously they're in a prison ship. They're about to get executed, so they didn't get their last meal. And then they had to escape across the galaxy and they're just famished. Like, yourself, if you've went all day and you've got the munchies, flips out, nothing's safe in the cupboard.
Yeah. We need the prequel. We need to find out what they did.
Murder teddies or don't care bears. Yeah.
That was the working title. Murder teddies.
But so we've got the bounty hunters. They're just like going on the rampage, shooting up a church for no reason. Like, poor Miss Grupter, like, I know she's not the best organ player, but come on, give the woman a break. She's doing her best and she's doing it for free.
I thought you were trying to hypnotize the audience.
No, I'm trying to hypnotize you. You will love this movie. You will love this movie.
It's working. It's working.
They just start going around, and then they go into the bar just to mess everything up for no reason.
That was hilarious.
And I love the way the other bounty hunter just can't pick a face. He's like,
yeah.
Will they go with this look? Will they go with that look? And they're already halfway through the mission. Well, what about this one? What about that one? And every time he looks at someone.
But just the idea of like an MTV like rock star like coming into your bowling alley and shooting the place up is just like, what? Are you guys filming? What's going on?
Go
Yeah,
on,
that
them
was
blasters are great.
yeah.
Like just extended mode.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, and that's basically what it is. They're just the corner of the family. Because that's where the land. They decide that that's it. They've eaten a couple of the cows. Everyone's getting messed up. Meanwhile, the bounty hunters are trying. We know where it's going. We know it's leading up to the scene where the bounty hunters are going to save a day. But I love the way Brad cycles off to try and get help, and that's who the first people he comes to.
Yeah, yeah. It was I didn't have a read on the bounty hunters. Like I knew they were there to kill the Krites, but I didn't know if they would be like kind to the humans or if they would they're in the way. They look at them as like
No, sure, look at they got their briefing. When they got their
Yeah.
briefing from the prison guards, like, don't blow everything up this time.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Don't do it this right. Is it cause right? There's no one left. You're only getting this job because there's no one else.
Yeah,
Don't do
that's
this.
true.
You know, they're numbskulls. You know, that's part of the comedy that's
Yeah.
their thing is they just go and they actually cause more problems than what they solve.
Yeah. But I ended up liking the relationship between them and was it Brad, the brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it gave me like vibes of like Terminator 2 a little bit with Arnold Schwarzenegger and John Connor. Yeah. Yeah. Ed Furlong, whatever the actor is. Yeah, it had that kind of feel to it where like they're almost automatons in a way, and yet they are protecting this kid and his family. It was kind of cool. I liked it. I like that scene with the house.
Yep. Let's set fire to the house and move upstairs. That's not the best idea, was it?
No. We'll be safe because fire doesn't know how to go upstairs. Everyone knows that.
Yeah. You just tell that people have never been in this situation before, so we're just like, boom, blah, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then get a victory. Yeah, the same when they just blast into the house, just that's it, and start killing the Krites. But best one for me is Helen. Like, she gets her moment. She's had enough.
Yeah.
Just starts going savage like on them. I can't remember what did she pick up? It was a shotgun she used the other end. They just beat them with a shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's always fun when you get like people that are not used to being in a fight backed against the wall, protecting their family, protecting their house, and all of a sudden they're just the most fiercest warriors ever, which is kind of believable. I like that aspect.
Well, it's a mama bird thing, isn't it?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one element I wasn't sure if I liked was when they rebuilt the house at the end. I didn't think that was
so 80s.
Yeah.
Come on. That is Flight of the Navigator type stuff.
Yeah, I didn't think it made sense. I didn't think it added anything to the story, and it adds so many questions. Like if they have the technology to reverse time, like why would they just prevent the prison escape in the first? I mean, it just adds so many unnecessary questions, convolutes the story too much.
Yeah, but that is one of them that has been used like loads of times. Just them devices that do random things that make no sense.
Yeah,
that is an 80s thing.
What do you think?
That sounds a good thing. I'm just saying that was just here's bullshit device that fixes everything. Bleep.
Yeah, bullshit device that fixes everything. Exactly. That's what it was in the script.
Yep.
What do you think the reason they had that in there? What do you think did they think that people would still be sad about the family's house at the end of the movie? They wouldn't be happy about the ending?
Yeah, it's that whole it needs a happy ending, doesn't it?
Is that what it is? Okay.
It's one of those. They're not making an impactful, we'll deal with the devastation, and rebuild again. They're not. It's that sort of. And I think this is back to what you're maybe saying, is that weren't quite sure how far to go over the line into one or the other.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the perfect example of it. It was just confusing to me because I think the audience would have been, sure, the family lost their house, but they all survived. They're lucky to be alive, and they wouldn't have given it a second thought. The fact that they did that with the house, I didn't quite get.
I think it was maybe as well to set up that the eggs were laid under the basement or under the eaves of the house.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe for that.
Okay.
But once again, it was a thing of its time.
Yeah.
And you just sort of go, yeah, that was a thing. And don't get really bogged down with it because let's be honest, it was the 90s where the idea of the thoughtful, you have to have the mechanics, you have to have the inner workings. I think it was as well the 90s, the series, the 80s was the time of the episodal. So they might have got a sequel, they might not have, but everything was also done episodal. TV series were done episodal. It was the 90s when we started getting the series, Buffy, Babylon 5, all those kind of, shows that had a through storyline. And then with that, you got the world build and you got to go deeper.
Yeah.
These weren't ever meant to be thoughtful movies.
And now they've gone the other extreme where every little element has to have exposition and an explanation. They don't allow the audience to think anything themselves. So they've gone the other extreme with it now. Probably
need to come back.
Yeah, probably somewhere in the middle is where it was in the sweet spot. For me personally, my taste, because I do overthink these things. So, when I see the device that fixes the house to go back in time, it starts my stupid brain working. But it's still fun of its time that it was before the constant exposition and things that modern movies have. Yeah.
And I think it was these movies in the 80s that led to that. It's like, oh, how about a bit more in depth? How about a bit of this? And, as there's so much birth in the 80s if you think about it.
Yeah.
And the idea of expanded universes of books and comics that based off a movie property and toys and like that was all in the 80s. That's where this all came about. And the idea of wanting more and more in depth, where if you look at radio plays and stuff in the 50s, like there were just one episode and that was it, and there was no depth to them whatsoever.
Yeah.
So this was a bit of and cinema didn't really start in the 70s. Like Steve and I are doing the classic horror, and movies right up until the late 60s were still a stage show. There's still a theater stage. That was still the mentality. That was still the way films were shot.
Right.
Cinema was a new invention that only really came about in the 70s, ideas of the movie. And then to top it off, you had the idea of the home movie. So these didn't have to do well at cinema. Could have got a bit, but it was a home rental market. So there's a lot going on and a lot for people to wrap their heads around. Like you look at creators back then, they were churning stuff out left, right, and center. Like they were not messed about. You look, a director can be famous now and do 3 movies,
right,
and their name will be about all over the place.
Yeah,
you didn't have that luxury back then because of the competition and the. Plus, when was this? About 1984 or something.
This was 86.
86 is the right. If you look at all the movies that come out in 1986, between 1985 1987 is like the just absolute zenith of movies. Just there's you couldn't keep up with them.
Yeah,
1986 is actually that year. That was so many movies.
Yeah, I think it was a necessity back then because the salaries for directors aren't what they are now. So you couldn't make one movie every 3 years and get by financially. You had to be prolific. You had to make more. So I just think that the costs, for whatever reason, of the actors, even the writers to some extent, but the directors especially, have gone up so much that they don't have to make as many movies now. And some ways it's good. Maybe they're able to take their time on certain movies, but in some ways you're not getting as much production. You're not getting as many movies made. Yeah, because the cost.
It's just you think about it. You went to the movie rental store on a Friday night. You're renting 3 or 4 movies for the weekend.
Yeah.
You weren't just renting one; it was 3 or 4 movies. So to keep up with that level of demand, and then it changed again. But I'd argue no, because if you look at Tubi, for example, like I cannot get near that website because I would lose days. Like the scary the amount of movies in that, for example.
But it's not the same director. That's what I mean. Like it's all different, directors and stuff.
Well, if you
like
look at Good Buddy the Show Calvin, you look at the amount of movies he pumps out.
Oh yeah, someone independent.
So there's directors that are doing it. If you're thinking more mainstream Hollywood, that's what I said. That's completely opposite. They do very little. And get the accolades. It's completely wrong. But there's still
that's what I was talking.
There's still that vibe,
Yeah.
like in the indie sphere. It's that name. It's that idea of you have to keep going. You have to keep putting your stuff out.
Oh, absolutely. I think the indie movie, that whole scene is very similar to the 80s.
It's very similar to the home rental market. It's almost like that spirit.
That spirit. Yeah. Hardworking, innovation, trying to, see what you could do on a shoestring budget. That's all reminiscent of 80s movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the spirit is still alive.
Absolutely.
And for all its faults, because of the limitations, once again, I believe this movie was trying to entertain me.
It worked. I mean, I definitely was entertained. Yeah.
And I can forgive a lot. I've said this loads of times. If I believe that a movie's been made or something's been made with the purpose of entertaining me, then I can let things slide.
Right.
If I feel like something's been made out of spite or out of obnoxiousness, or it's a vanity project and it's not for me, but I'm supposed to watch it anyway, well, then I get nitpicky. Or that the creators don't care. They're just doing it to either jump on a bandwagon or milk a franchise or make a fast buck. Then I will go to town on it. But movies, I guess, once again, because it was like a formative years of movie watching, and these are the movies that got me, like, why I love horror, because I wasn't watching Disney shit. I wasn't watching fucking Happy Clappy whatever. I didn't care. This is the shit I was watching. Like, this is when I went to the video store. I didn't go anywhere near the romance, the rom-coms, the bloody, even the action movies. No, I was the horror, straight down. That's where all the cool posters were. That's where the cordoned off. Some places had a curtain as well, which just made it even naughtier.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Always right next to the porn. Like, the horror was there, the porn was there. It was fucking great.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive, and nobody minded.
That's great.
So you have a wee sneak across, go, woo. You're never allowed to rent those, but they were right there. Right? There's just something magical about the time.
Yeah.
And I just thought this is just a fun movie. That's it. It's just, and it's off its time, so it has limitations. But I'll not hear too much bad words said about it. Thank you very much.
No. I think the worst I said about it is I thought Gremlins did it better, but I still enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I do want to learn more about these creatures. You know how my stupid brain works. Like, I want to hear, like, what their society is like. Why they turned into a giant creature. What they were on trial for. I want some more critter goodness.
Second one is actually fun. It does carry on
There you go.
So that's what happened. Yeah, it just yeah, even leaving the business card, call me. You know what I mean?
Oh, that was
Like
great.
that is such an 80s thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And not every 80s movie was thinking about sequels. Like I feel like that became more of a 90s thing, right?
Mhm.
Like you take a movie like I'm trying to think of an example. But I feel like a lot of 80s movies they just ended without thinking about the sequels. If it was successful, then sure they'll do a sequel, but they weren't spending the last 2 minutes of the movie, leading to a sequel. It wasn't like a
Yeah.
thought like it
Well,
is
this
now.
one was. He was definitely trying to build an expanded
Yeah.
universe. And he was trying to tell a bigger story than what was here.
Yeah, like
You
the
kind of see
Goonies.
that.
The Goonies didn't the ship
Mhm.
didn't come back and then what's on the ship. Like it just sailed away into the sunset, like movies usually ended and then you worry about the sequel after. Like this was really teeing it up. And I
Yep.
think the business card was an example of that. And obviously where it zooms in on the eggs or whatever at the end. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, fun time revisiting again.
Yeah. I'm hooked. I'm ready for the next one.
However, we're not doing that next time. We're doing some Ash versus Evil Dead.
Nice. Mix it up. I like it.
We're going to do the first 2 episodes, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
down.
That's it. And then we go back to Wishmaster, and then back to Critters, and then that's going to be the cycle for this run.
Okay.
Is this like season 2 of I think that season 1. What was season 1? Tremors and Sharknado.
Sharknado. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I like the variety. It's good because you get you kind of get tired of the same trope, but when you're mixing it up, especially when there's a couple weeks in between, it does give you a little bit more appreciation for the franchise. Yeah.
And that's obviously a more modern take. And what was funny about, well, obviously we'll talk about it at the time, but what was funny is the Evil Dead remake, the 2013 one. The minute Bruce Campbell appeared at the end and saying groovy, that just blew that out of the water. That was like, what did we just watch? What? Like that was like talk about tanking your own. They were trying to make Maya to be like the next Ash. And at the end of it, you just see that one scene, just goes the shadow, goes in Bruce Campbell's face as Ash and goes groovy. Ash versus
Yeah,
Evil Dead.
yeah.
Everyone just forgot the movie that literally just watched.
Yeah.
Nobody
Exactly.
gave a shit. Who are those characters? No! Ah! And yeah, this will be so much fun to talk about because oh god, this series is brilliant. I love it.
That's awesome.
And managed despite all the problems that happened with the studios. Yeah, I think it did a blinder.
I mean, Bruce Campbell, Ash is one of the best horror creatures in the history of any format. So, and I never saw the show. I saw maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but I don't really remember it well. So I'm really pumped. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Sweet. Well, there you go. Chris, thanks as always. Always a laugh.
We did it.
Thanks for everybody for turning up. And just as we say, until next time, keep up the other channel, do the type of things, and remember to keep it creepy. Keep it horrific.